Hi, I am here to share my ayahuasca story because I knew that one day I would probably forget, and I really just don't want to forget the details of this story. And this is more about journaling for me than it is anything for anyone else. But if you are curious about ayahuasca, if you have been thinking about it, or you just want to kind of know what I went through, continue to listen on. So, ayahuasca is a plant. It comes from the earth, comes from the Amazon, and it is the Amazonians believe that it's medicine, and I do too. It is medicine. It's not a recreational drug at all. It is something that is meant to help bring you back to your center, bring you back home, heal you on so many different levels. And so for me, my intention behind sitting with ayahuasca, and that's how you say it. You say sit. You don't say do ayahuasca, take ayahuasca. And I was one that was like, oh, have you ever done ayahuasca? And I was very quickly corrected. And it's sit with ayahuasca. And so I had been thinking about it for a while, and I never kind of like just muddled up the courage to sit with it. And I just went through a lot the last few weeks and months, and I decided that it was time. And so I was really looking for a retreat. I was looking for an organization that I could go on, and I really was like specific with the type of organization or person, the shaman that I wanted to sit with. And I had cousins that had sat with an organization called Aniwa, and they had done a peyote ceremony with them and never ayahuasca, but they raved about the organization. And so it just happened to be that when I was looking a week later, it showed up that it was going to be just this past weekend. So it was December 3rd, 4th, 5th. I had to 2021. And so I signed up, and you are put on a diet. And the diet consists of removing toxins from your body. So I had to no meat, no dairy, no processed food, no sugar, no alcohol, no caffeine, no onions, and no garlic. And so for me, that was like a relatively easy diet. I don't eat meat anyways, but the caffeine and the alcohol, like a glass of wine, you just couldn't do. So I did that for a week. So I cleansed so that my body was ready to take the medicine. And so I flew down to Mazatlan, and one of the facilitators lives there, and we stayed at her house. And the shaman that came from Brazil, which was like an amazing experience. And I'll kind of come back to this in a second, but Benki Pioco, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, he's like the Dalai Lama of the Amazon. He's an indigenous Anishinaabe leader and shaman that works with the indigenous people, and he works to preserve nature, and he's planted like thousands of trees in the Amazon to help the Amazon stay alive and exist. But he's the Dalai Lama, and he has been said, and I had learned that he never had a past life. So he came to this earth to strictly do this work, and that is to help heal people through ayahuasca. He had a son, and we were so lucky to sit with his son. So his son was our shaman, and he's 23 years old, and the first time that he's ever taken ayahuasca was literally when he was in the womb, which is like insane if you think about it. His mom sat with ayahuasca often, and while she was pregnant, she had sat with ayahuasca. And so even as a fetus, he had been sitting with the medicine, and he'd been learning and training over the course of the last 10 years. And finally, he's come to Mazatlan to lead a group of us. And so I was one of the groups. And, I think the anticipation of like what is it going to be like? What am I going to experience? And if you speak to anyone, they tell you like, oh, I saw this, I saw that. I had conversations with my ancestors. I had like snakes crawling out of my skin. Like, people had such vivid and very telling stories. People will say like ayahuasca is like a year of therapy in one night. And I think my expectation was that, right? I was like, I'm going to see all the things and I'm so ready. And they tell you to sit with an intention. So like, what is the intention? So over the course of the last week, actually 2 weeks, I've been really kind of sitting with, why am I doing this? What am I looking for? And I was looking for 3 specific points, but the overarching kind of intention was clarity, joy, and love. And then I had 3 like specific questions from there that I wanted to get answers for. And so when I arrived in Mazatlan, and it's a quick, easy flight from LA. We got to the house, and they don't really tell you any sort of itinerary. And so all I knew is that we had 2 ceremonies. I didn't know what night they were on. And so the first one was the night that we arrived, which was Friday. And I was like, the anticipation was killing me. It was like, oh my goodness, the ceremony started at 10 p.m. We were leaving at 9 because we had to pack the car, and then we drove to the marina, and then we took a small like little boat to a island that was just like 5 minutes away. It was more like a peninsula. And there was 11 of us. 7 of us were participants, and then there was 4. There was the shaman, and then 3 facilitators. And so just the anticipation of like, oh my God, is it 9 o'clock? Is it 10 o'clock? Was just like really killing me. And I had so many expectations for like what this night was going to be like. And so we pull up to the marina, and it's dark, and you wear a ceremony outfit, completely covered up. We brought, little meditation chairs and blankets. And again, I didn't know anything other than the fact that it was like traditionally it's like through the evening into the morning, but again, no idea what time or anything. So we get to the island, we get to the spot, which was this beautiful area that, again, it was dark, but it was kind of like a pergola with an open center. And then, so you could see up to the stars. And then from there, the ocean was behind us. So you could hear the waves kind of crashing into the rocks. And we sat in a circle, and when we got there were some locals that were there. So they had invited some of the Mexican community to the circle, which was great. I think with 11 of us, it was very intimate. And then we probably had another 10 or so that joined us. And so when we started, the woman's house that we stayed at, she was one of the facilitators. She kind of explained like how the evening would go. And if it's your first time, we're going to start with half of a dose, and there'll be 3 doses through the evening. And at any point you could take another dose, but they kind of wanted the first timers, including, that was me, to only take half. And the dose was like the size of a shot. So I took, I'm jumping ahead, but so we sat in the circle, and it was pretty like quiet. It was very surreal. It was very serene. And I think at that point my anticipation had settled. I was ready. And they gave you the kind of the house rules, like if you need to purge, if you need to cleanse, and that's what they say, the medicine is cleansing you. So if you need to be cleansed, in other words, vomit or purge, like go over here, go over there, there's a bathroom, get up. If you need help, ask. So I sit down, we line up to take the first serving of the medicine, and I sit. And they said that it takes a little bit for it to kind of settle into your system. And I waited and I didn't really feel much. I think just the feeling of taking something, I started to feel a little bit nauseated, but I was like, it's okay, it'll pass. And we sat in silence for probably, I don't know. I mean, time is like not even existent at this point, but I don't know, maybe like 35 minutes just silent. And you can hear people around you kind of going through their experience. And I hadn't really felt anything yet. And I started to feel like, oh my God, is this not working for me? I'm unclear. So they invited us, the newcomers, the first timers, to come up for the second dose, or the second half of the first dose, which I did. And I still really didn't feel anything. And I started to get really frustrated. I started to all the thoughts were in my head. I was starting to think about family and friends. And I started to think about what am I doing? And I'm like, oh my God, this isn't really working for me. And the thoughts just started to cloud the experience for me. And so they invited us up for the second dose, which I did. And then at that point, I got very sick. And not very sick, but that's part of the ayahuasca experience, is that you are known to purge, poop, do all the things, and look at it as a way of your body releasing. It's pushing all the toxins out. And so I got up and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. And I felt very, at this point, discombobulated. It wasn't drunk. It wasn't that. And I wasn't out of control. I was very much still in my body. So I got up and I walked over to the plants and I definitely purged. Just one time, and I sat back down and they started to play these just beautiful ancient songs and sing, I should say. And then they started to invite instruments into the mix. So we had strings, drums, just beautiful sounds. And as I sat and I was letting the medicine do what it was intended to do, they kept saying, if you get stuck, pray. If, breathe, trust. And so I kept, at that point, when I had gone into the ceremony, I was like, these are my 3 questions. This is what my intention is. And I kind of just let all of that go because I wasn't seeing that and I wasn't getting that. And so I just said my intention is just to trust. And I would keep my eyes closed. I would open them. I would kind of see what's going on. And I had 2 newbies sitting next to me, both men, and I could hear them get up and vomit and things. And so I started to get out of my body a little bit, or out of the experience a little bit. And then part of me was like, oh my goodness, I'm sitting for so long. My butt hurts, my back hurts. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm really tired. What time is it? It's still dark out. And those are the thoughts that were going through my head. So I was missing the experience. And then I started to feel bad. I started to feel so bad that I was not having the experience that I was supposed to have. And so then as the music kept playing, the vibration of the music was insane. I mean, I was they're in front of me. They're sitting in front of me playing, and I opened my eyes and they hadn't moved. But that vibration was just so heavy and amazing in the best way. And so at that point, I don't know, I think I may have dozed off. I woke up, I came back into it. I opened my eyes, and one of the facilitators who was playing music, and I didn't know this at the time, but it looked like he was a demon. He looked like he was a monster. And I was like, whoa, this can't be true. And I kept looking because I was like, are my eyes playing tricks on me? And he was wearing this beautiful feather headpiece. And at that point I realized, okay, it's not demons, it's his headpiece. My eyes are playing tricks on me. And then when I looked over to my right, the gentleman that was sitting next to me, his face had completely like distorted. And I was like, wow, that's really freaking weird. But I know that's not real. And so I just like kind of continued to close my eyes and just like be in it. And then at one point, you start to feel the sunrise, and the energy of the circle kind of starts to change. And as we came out of it, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. We're still playing music. They're still playing music. They're still chanting, and a lot of their chanting is around prayer. So as the night ended and we came into the morning at around 9 a.m., we did a sharing circle where we sat and we had expressed just our experience. And after hearing everyone else's experience, I felt really bad. I felt bad for me. And I was like, how come I didn't have this experience that everyone else had? It was like life-changing. They got so much information. They spoke to ancestors. They saw visions. And so when it came to my part to share, I actually started to cry because I was like, I think I was resisting. I think that I was like not letting myself tap in, and I was sad. And the facilitator, the woman said, why didn't you ask for help? And I was like, it's a good fucking question. Because I never ask for help. And she's like, don't suffer in silence. Like, ask for help. And I was like, and she's like, well, good thing that tomorrow we have another ceremony. And, it's funny because one of the girls next to me had saw what she thought was a demon behind the musician that was playing, one of the facilitators. And his response was, when you see that, pray for me, because he goes, I'm holding so much space for all of us. I'm bringing in so much positive influence that, yes, of course, there are negative influences and they can show up. And so when they show up, pray. And when I say pray, and when they say pray, it's like, pray to whatever you believe in. Pray to spirit, pray to source, pray to God, pray to whatever it is, the universe, whatever you believe in. But I thought it was really interesting that she saw it and I thought I saw it, and then I thought it was the headpiece, which who knows, right? So that was night one. We left, we jumped in the ocean. It was so beautiful. We had a coconut. We left and got home around 1 o'clock. We had a beautiful breakfast, and then it was kind of like chill time. The second night was at the house. And at this point, everyone was like, Soha, you're going to have a beautiful experience tonight. And at this point, I'd let go of expectation. And it was at the house. And this time there was probably 30 people. Some people from the same first night, and then they invited locals. This night was probably one of the weirdest experiences I've ever been in my whole life. This was something that I still see it in my mind. So I'll explain. Oh my God.